My name is Tara-Lyn and My business is Tara-Lyn Pilates. I have a studio in Morris County, New Jersey. We have I think we have 7 or 8 teachers now. We're growing. Um, and yeah, we just we like to teach Pilates to everybody,
Mhm.
anybody and everybody. It's just such an amazing method that, is applicable to all bodies and all people. And I thought it was funny when you did the poster and you texted me and said, I don't have your last name, but I just put Tara-Lyn Pilates because my family will love that because they think like I should have the last name Pilates. That's all I think about and all I do. So
Yes, I know. That's good. You got to live it out, right?
yeah.
Yeah. And I love the notion of Pilates for everybody, and I use that as a hashtag from time to time. And what does that mean for you?
So that means when you are working with somebody or even a class, is to kind of jump into their reality for a moment and
Yes.
figure out where they're coming from, physically, but also mentally, in a connection way, and kind of figure out how you can make this work resonate to them. Uh,
Yes.
so that's kind of, I think, the most powerful thing that I've worked really hard to learn how to do and to keep learning how to do, since
Hmm.
being like a younger teacher.
Right. And you say that like well, like we keep learning how to do that. I believe it was Clarissa earlier this week was asking me, how do you keep doing this? Like how long? I've been teaching fitness for almost 20 years or over 20 years,
Yeah.
and day over day, client over client. How do you keep doing that? And I think it is that like you're looking at each body and saying like, how do I make this resonate with them today?
Yeah. Well, one, just keep meeting and connecting with people, like even in a non-Pilates way.
Hmm.
And that's one of the reasons why I love your podcast and your show, because it's really open, especially in a time of real big isolation with the pandemic. It's really opened up, our eyes to people that we might not come across maybe in our area or other teachers. And I just feel like the more we learn about each other and where we're coming from, as an industry and also as teachers and just humans, the more I feel like it's like the more you know, the more you realize you don't know. That's like
Yes.
my thought in my head. And what you don't know, you don't know. It's kind of like if you limit yourself, you really kind of, just limit those possibilities. But if you keep seeking out, just different people and connecting with them, it really teaches you a lot. I mean, I'm fortunate too. I've been teaching for about 20 years as well. I was a personal trainer transitioning from my like previous career, and then going through like the first Pilates program I went through, and just how much you grow from then, right?
Yes.
If I look at my like stage, if you look at your like fitness infant Martin, as opposed to
Yes.
like such a big difference, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. Fortunately, I don't cringe when I look back on it. You sometimes you think like, oh, I probably could
Yeah.
have hurt that person. Like,
Yeah.
like, but yeah, but that's it. We always are in this process of learning and growing. And like what you said there too, I think the other part to it for me is like the more we learn about people, the more we recognize the similarities instead of highlighting the differences.
Yeah, absolutely.
And whether it's the teaching style of Pilates or it is your whatever what like fill in the blank with anything, it's you do that like the more you learn about the person, the more you realize, okay, we have these things in common, let's celebrate those instead of highlighting our differences.
Yeah. And I think too, like when it comes down to like as human beings, like some basic, like emotional and physical and mental needs, we're very similar. We all want to be seen. We all want to be heard.
Yep.
Um, we all want to be connected. We all want to feel, well, most hopefully we can get people to the point where they all want to like live life well and feel like life and love. So if you kind of keep concentrating on those common threads, I feel like we can, we can really, there's no limits to where we can go, what we could do with it.
Right, exactly. I'm doing a speed networking event,
Yes.
and I'm curious to know, being a studio owner, what is your elevator pitch if you bump into someone on the street when you say like you meet people like and they ask you what do you do, how do you explain what you do?
Well, it's funny because when you say it's so as funny as much as Pilates is a lot more mainstream than it used to be, it's still not, right? So people will
Mhm.
still give you like a funny look. So I sort of, um, I own a Pilates and fitness studio, even though it's, I mean, to me, it's the same, even though there's different niches and techniques and things like that. So
Yes.
once you throw the word fitness into it, people kind of understand it a little bit more. And we teach. I just kind of give like a general. We teach private training sessions, small group sessions, and then like if they hear the word Pilates, a lot of times they'll say, "Do you have those machines? Those scary
Yes, the machine.
machines?"
Yeah.
And
Yes.
have all of it. Yeah, we have all the apparatus, and then I just usually go into like, well, what's your movement background? I kind of ask more questions after that instead of talk.
Yes.
Yeah,
Right, 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 right.
like what are you looking to do? What's your movement background? And I love that Tracy connected us because like she's another person that kept people like not isolated during the pandemic with just all of her funny memes and posts
Yes.
and I love how she had certain things like, at the Pilates holiday, at the dinner table, like I'm thinking everyone needs Pilates. Like that's kind of how, my kids,
Yes.
my kids are like, we know, Mom, Pilates. No, you're going to save the world with Pilates.
But
You
we
have,
are.
yeah, we are. I'm sticking with it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, totally.
Right. You said?
Yes, I have my guys are 16, sorry, 18 and 14, and my stepkids are 16 and 13. So we're a blended family, four teenagers, and they're all awesome kids. Like
Yeah.
we're good. Yeah.
I have
So
two, feels like four sometimes. I don't know if that counts.
uh, boys or girls?
I have one of each. I have a
One of
16
each.
daughter and a 13-year-old son.
Oh yeah, there you go. Yeah, yeah, that
So.
could feel like more.
Yeah. So,
Um,
so we are
yeah,
thrilled with it.
yeah. Do they like Pilates? Will they tolerate it or?
Like it depends on what day you're saying. My daughter is a dancer, so she
Okay,
does value in it. I just signed up my son for our winter youth fitness clinic that we're doing at the studio. I just kind of made the decision because with all of this virtual stuff we're doing, and he does sports, but it's just not the same. So
right.
kind of was reluctant at first, and he's done it before, and
Mhm.
once he's there though it's good. Like he likes to move and feel good. It's just anything I suggest at first might not be the thing they want to do, but
No, exactly.
it,
Yeah. What do moms know, right?
nothing. I know nothing. Yeah,
Yes.
that's why it's nice that I'm on here because I still really know nothing, but like at least someone's willing to listen to me knowing nothing.
It's too funny.
Yeah.
How long have you had your studio for?
So my studio is fairly new. I've had it for 2.5 years.
Mhm.
Prior to that, I worked out of some home studios with home clients. And prior to that, I worked for other people in their studios. I always said that I was going to wait to open a studio until I could really put all of myself into it. And I really waited a long time for that. So now's the time. So yeah, it's 2.5 years. It's growing pretty quickly.
Mhm.
And in a pandemic, I've been proud of that because, it could have gone either way.
Could have, absolutely. Do
Yeah.
you feel like you waited too long now that you're in, you realize like, wait a minute, I could have done it like 3 years ago.
Well, I think that, that's a good question because I don't think I waited too long. I really wanted to be like very present in a lot of my kids, like, the team mom at sports and the class mom
Yes.
at school. So
Mhm.
being an instructor for other people let me navigate that and balance it well. And I always worked,
Amazing.
but I could kind of like adjust it. And so I feel like now what actually caused me to really start to think about opening it is as your kids get older, like they start to have their own thing.
Yes.
I really need my own thing. I don't want to be that person that's lost once they leave. So,
Right. Yeah.
Pilates was always my thing. So I thought this is the right time. So
Hmm. Yeah, no, it's awesome. And
yeah,
that's such a big, courageous step. Like I always applaud people when they decide to do that because not everyone's calling, but more people do it than it's their calling, and then it flops because it's not what they're supposed to do, right? Like that
right.
happens too. So I think that that's awesome that you did that. And I don't know if my wife is still in the chat, but I've heard her say on many different occasions that it's as a mom, you feel like when you're working, you're a good employee and a bad mom. And when you're being in mom mode, you're being a good mom and a bad employee. So that
Yes.
balance is really, really tough to find.
Mom guilt is real. It's like real hard. Mom guilt. I'm at the studio when I'm at the studio late because it happens frequently.
Mhm.
Like I'll be kind of having that like rush home to see what everyone's doing. And then like I get home and I'm like, where is everyone? Like no one,
Yeah.
fine, but you just have it. It like hangs on you. So I definitely relate to your wife's experience for sure.
Yes, that's Alexander right there.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah. Nice to meet you. Is
Um,
she an instructor as well, or
yeah, she's in fitness as well. So that's she's been a manager for a gym where that's the same thing. Like you're trying to do that well and then rush home and make sure that there's dinner on the table before you rush back for the evening crowd and
yeah,
right. And yeah,
yeah,
you witness it firsthand that like
yeah.
you just can't do either really, really well.
It's hard. It's like I just feel like if I every day take it day by day and think like, did I do my best today in
Hmm.
both realms? And I've also really become okay with being completely flawed and imperfect, which like wasn't always the case. I've kind of that perfectionism personality in
Yes.
and I've grown a lot to be like, well, that's just not, I'm okay with being not okay. That's like,
That's huge. That
yeah,
is a big step because I mean, who sets that standard? Like, who establishes that standard of that your work life needs to look like this and your parent life needs to look like this and your house needs to be this clean and
right.
like all these different things. Like who sets that standard?
Right. Well, sometimes we put the most pressure on ourselves for it, but like you're right, where does it come from in the first place? I'm not sure. I mean, like we've had to make a lot of shifts here at home. I mean, it's funny because even though my husband works full time and he's working from home now with the pandemic, he's had to take over a lot of the home stuff that normally I would have done, and it's kind of like a weird shift. I almost feel like he's a stay-at-home dad even though he's not, and
Right.
he's working, but and I'm the only one that leaves this house at this point, really.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So,
Right. So yeah, those are all the balances. And honestly, Tara-Lyn, those are the conversations that I love to have here because everyone looks at the glorious studio and says, I want to get that when I grow up. Or they see like, 15,000 followers, they want that. It's like, no, real talk. There's a lot of stuff that's happening in the background
yeah,
that we need
absolutely.
to navigate.
Yeah. I loved also speaking of that, I loved how Tracy highlighted a lot of new people with her Best of 2020.
Yes.
Congratulations, by the
Thank
way.
you. Yes.
I loved how she highlighted like new people because I feel like there's so many people just doing the work,
Mhm.
um, and they might not have the fame or the notoriety, and they don't need it. Like I don't
They don't need
personally
it.
need that, but
Yeah.
I'm just doing the work and for the sake of doing the work, and a lot of people are, and just to have that like highlighted is kind of a cool, refreshing thing.
Yes, absolutely. I've been saying that all week too. So I'm just gonna read Caroline's comment here. Black Hat Pilates is saying, and it's completely fine to stay at home dad, and we are working home mamas. Yes.
Yeah,
Uh,
absolutely.
yeah.
Hi.
And Jamie, so owning a studio and having employees is like having another house and other kids.
Absolutely. And you know what? The that really felt like that during the pandemic because I'm so excited to see Jamie on the call. I haven't really been looking down there because I didn't want to be distracted, but to see Jamie makes me feel at home.
There you
Um,
go. Nice.
Once the pandemic hit, and we were trying to figure out right away like what we would have to do to keep the studio afloat, my first priority with the studio was like, I need my team to stay intact. I need my team to bring home those paychecks, and I need them to still feel that they have this livelihood and be comfortable that they're not losing it. So it is
Yes.
having kids. I felt like I was like the mom hen, you know.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Just keeping them connected, keeping them like safe and knowing, yeah. Oh, for
Mhm.
sure. No,
Yeah.
that's good. I get that sense just from people's comments already, like you have that motherly, this is ours. Like it's that we speak.
It is ours. I couldn't do any of this without my people. Like, they
Hmm.
say like if you want to be successful, surround yourself with like-minded people with a similar purpose or mission, and
Yes.
just my team is phenomenal. I mean, it's just there's no, I feel like if you build a good team that sticks together, there's no like chipping away at it, and there's no you're going to thrive.
Yes,
Yeah.
right. Yeah, and that, I mean, that takes work, right? And from my conversation with Heather too, when she was saying about like ethics and having things in place and being proactive and having those hard conversations and setting those boundaries, those guardrails make for a really healthy relationship. It's like parenting, right? Like if you give your kids like these guardrails, then they're free to move however they want within those guardrails, and everyone stays happy and thrives.
And I have to acknowledge Heather as a mentor and a colleague that has taught me so much about the business world. Heather and Jamie both, but
Yes.
would literally, if I had to, when I was opening my studio, because I was part of Pure Body teacher training prior to that,
Mm-hmm.
she was just such a great sounding board. And I know obviously she's got a great consulting business, and she's been on the forefront of helping studio owners make good decisions, stay afloat during this time and even before that. And
Yes.
she just had been just so giving with support and advice, and us
Mm-hmm.
being like a sounding board. So she's the culture that she's created with Pure Body teacher training influenced me a lot to create that culture in my studio, because I
Absolutely.
felt as being one of her kids, like her faculty.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. That's great. And and not to plug this networking thing again, but when I have these conversations with people, the people who appear to be thriving like yourself, and I'm not saying like you're making a quadrillion dollars or whatever, but like you are thriving in
Yeah.
terms of having people around you and support and growth and positivity. They all have someone who has poured into their lives.
Yes.
That's been the common thread with like all of my conversations. Those people who are on the uptick in the worst situation have people that they've surrounded themselves with.
Absolutely. And like it almost, I know one of the questions I think you asked prior to the interview was, how has the pandemic affected, your business and whatnot? And I know that could be taken a lot of different ways. Like you could talk about it financially, you could talk
Mm-hmm.
about it, in capacity and protocols. But one of the things that I really, right from the beginning, try to focus on is like, okay, hang on, quiet all the noise.
Mm-hmm.
What's our purpose? It's the same.
Yes.
And it almost made all of those things louder. Like when you
Mm-hmm.
kind of can, okay,
Yes.
what we need to do is figure out we still have the same purpose. How can we do it still then? It doesn't,
Yes.
it's like not we can or we can't. We
Mm-hmm.
have to find a way. And
Right.
having the troops rallied to kind of think that way and support and keep moving forward, we are thriving. I mean, my studio and my teachers and Pure Body teacher training, like all of the like webs of amazing people that I've
Mm-hmm.
kind of I've been with are thriving. And because I think that's as simple as it gets sometimes, is keep that mission.
Yes, absolutely. This your Pure Body teacher training, from the conversations with Heather and then just working with Jamie over the last few weeks, you see how, much like some of our superheroes in this Pilates industry who aren't super famous, you guys are doing great work, and it's people are going to discover that more and more, because it's like, that saying, like, it takes 10 years to be an overnight success.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yes.
you're in the middle of that 10 years where you're just
Yep.
doing great work, and one day everyone's gonna be like, where did all these amazing trainers come from?
Yeah.
Oh, there. Yeah.
The building blocks. Yeah. And
Yep.
the successes to me are seeing like the proof is in the pudding part. Like when you're training and the very, I mean, this program, Pure Body teacher training is just like nothing I've ever been involved with,
Hmm.
in terms of the organization, but also the relation, how it resonates to the process of learning. Um,
Yes.
and Heather's just been, I mean, she's, a genius with that. And
Yeah.
it's just, when you see the teachers do it, like I have teachers that are teaching in my studio now that they can work with anybody, any pathology,
Hmm.
any shape or size. And there's no, there's no,
Barriers.
yeah, there's no barriers at all. So it's
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah, very cool. It was fun working when I did a workout with Jamie yesterday, and she had some students, observing that. So she's in
Yeah.
the comment section if she wants to say something.
Yeah.
It was funny though. Like we've done two. Did you watch it yet?
I didn't yet. This is what
Okay,
I'm
cool.
right after you.
All
Yeah.
right, you don't have to watch it.
No,
It's good.
but yeah, life got in the way for a moment.
Yeah, no, it's all good. But it was just funny just watching, because the banter that Jamie and I had through this workout. Someone was like, "You guys work so well together. Like you've known each other for so long," and we're like, think we met 2 weeks ago. Like really, it's just like that chill and that natural. So really, really good teacher,
Well,
obviously.
yes. Did she make a comment? No.
No.
You make people feel very comfortable. That's a gift that you have. Just your very kind of calm demeanor and open person. Like you just, yeah. So that's a tribute to you as well. And she's the same way. She's,
Yeah,
you know,
she
she's
is. Yeah. Very cool.
yeah.
So can you talk a little bit more about yeah, just talk a little bit more about this teacher training. Like when is it happening? What are you guys doing
Oh,
with it?
yes.
It's
Big announcement that we are doing for the first time ever the first 3 modules of the teacher training virtually, which means that obviously it's not even location based, and it was to address the situation in the pandemic, and so that's a big thing. In general, the teacher training is 9 modules, and it starts with foundations, and it goes mat 1, mat 2, and then all the way through reformer and apparatus 1 to 3. So 9 modules, which right now it's really exciting that we're doing. Jamie and Heather are teaching the first 3 virtually, and then in July I am founding faculty, and I'm also a host studio. So I fill those 2 roles.
yeah.
So my studio in New Jersey, in Montville, in July, we'll start with the location-based in-person reformer, starting with the reformer since the apparatus in person.
Okay.
It's taking place, all that information is taking place in my studio in Montville, in Plymouth, Michigan, in Hilton Head, South Carolina, Houston, Sweden, which is Jamie,
Yes.
possibly more coming soon. We're still working on the acquiring more hosts because it
Great.
has
Yeah.
been growing. Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
yeah.
That's funny that you say that because maybe it was Miguel Silva and I maybe about like 6 months ago we were talking about what that would look like. We were just kind of just brainstorming on our conversation because like there has to be some hybrid model of this to come out. There has to be some sort of modernizing of the teacher training, and
Hmm.
I think that the hybrid model is definitely the way to go because we need that human touch still.
Yes.
But there's a lot of the information that can be downloaded and you could still learn it because ultimately it's like your driver's license. At the end of the day, you're safe to operate a vehicle, but that doesn't mean that you're the best driver in the world and you can now be in Formula One. You
Yes.
are safe and proficient at operating a vehicle. Now
Mhm.
get better.
Right. Exactly. Now, the one thing to say about pure body teacher training in terms of when instructors come right out of the program, obviously they're equipped with all the tools to teach anybody. The top, I think it's the pathologies the list keeps getting bigger too. It's like
Yes.
30 pathologies they learn about. It has a very big, exercise science, anatomy, alignment protocols, all of that. But
Yeah.
best thing is they're equipped with all these tools right out of the gate, but then they can audit any module over for free for life.
That's
And
amazing.
yeah, it's just, and we have a digital network that every person that is faculty, student, from forever is on. And there's workshop opportunities. There's, that's what your movement experience with Jamie obviously is for those students to observe and to see. We have a digital component to that now too. So it's really like the most resourceful program for, I felt kind of like when I got out of my program 20 years ago, it was a great program. I had to sort of figure out my way and figure
Yes.
out where to get continuing ed, and you almost
Right.
hook on to like either this person or this person. Now it's like expanding. So the net is wider and bigger,
Hmm.
more international. So it's like all of these resources. It's amazing.
Yes, exactly. Like Jamie's saying here, we never stop learning ever. Pilates geek out time
Oh,
always.
nerds. We are such nerds. Yeah.
Hmm. Yep.
Proud.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. Or my friend in martial arts says, like, we're white belts forever.
Yeah. Yeah. Always learning.
Always
Exactly.
learning. Yeah.
I learned even more from my students, and obviously with the amazing company that I keep, like Jamie, Heather, and the rest of the faculty. We're always learning from each other, and you learn from your students too. So it's a
Yeah,
great
for sure.
circular it just keeps going.
Yep. Yep. Always getting better. And fresh eyes too, right? Like, I mean, different words and different experiences. And
Yeah. So
Yeah.
tell me about your recent mentorship. I read that you had with, was it with Chris Robinson?
Hmm.
I
Yep.
love, he's so
Yeah,
great.
it's good. And so I did my teacher training. That apprenticeship was in Toronto with Lily Viola's studio, and Chris flew up to teach our modules. So yeah, it was really cool just learning from a guy who was a non-dancer.
Yes.
And you know what I mean? And it's so funny that that becomes a thing. Like I joked in the past of saying, like, it's not about classical versus contemporary. It's dancers or non-dancers teaching it when it comes to men, right? Because those are two different bodies,
Yeah.
right? So yeah, so when I heard that he was coming, being a black male, being an athlete, being someone in Pilates who has this lineage, I was really intrigued because I didn't know that that existed other than myself. So I did Peak originally. I did a special interest course before that too. So that was just my introduction to the classical work, and I've continued to dive deep since then,
Hmm.
learning from other people and stuff like that. So yeah, it's been good. Like I love it. I see the value of the classical, and
Yeah. Chris
I,
has definitely whipped my butt a few times and
mm,
virtually and in person at other times.
yes.
It's a great.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Absolutely. And just like through these conversations, I did a class with Troy McCarty, for example, and just learning some of just original exercises and ways that he's taught it. So in different bodies, like Jamie's been amazing. Like working with Brooke as well. Like there's just people who Kai said it best. Like who is your Joseph, right?
Yeah.
You find these different teachers who just see and you resonate with, and they,
Yeah.
So yeah,
Have you taken with Kathy Ross Nash?
I haven't yet.
You have to try it. So I'm a Brooke person. I'm always, and I'm trying to even seek out different, now virtually makes it so great because it makes the world.
Right.
I would love to take from you.
Yeah, absolutely.
That
Yeah.
would- but yeah, so you should try to, yeah, you should take a session with her too. She's phenomenal. And she's definitely a mentor of mine as well for a long
Yeah.
time.
Right. One of the things I'm cautious of is I think that we take in too much information. So if I'm like learning, if I've taken a class with one person, I'm like, for example, I worked with Jamie last week, 2 weeks ago, and then yesterday. I probably won't take another class with anyone for like a couple of weeks because I'll just like dive deep. Sit down and write notes right after, and just like I just dive deep on that, run with that, get that in my body, teach it to people, and then move on. Like I think we get obese taking in so much information and not actually putting it back out there. So I'm very careful in that process of just taking on more and more people.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I actually operate like that as well. I'm trying to think. I just did the 10-week challenge, red thread challenge with Kathy.
Yes.
Yeah, so that was like a good dive deep into the fundamentals
Mm-hmm.
and breaking it down from the beginning and learning, and then literally, like you said, absorbing it, teaching it that way, getting kind of a better grasp on. Sometimes we have to revisit
Mm-hmm.
those fundamentals ourselves all the time. We do,
All the time. Yeah.
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 So it's good.
Yes. Yeah. That's good. Who did you study with originally? Your first
So
experiences of Pilates?
yeah,
Oh, and
so
sorry, and we're past 11. Are you okay to go over a little bit
I'm
too? Like,
good. I'm open today. Yeah.
all right, cool. Yes.
Thank you for giving me extra time.
No, it's good. I have
Um,
11:30 clients, so at some point I'll have to log
yeah.
off, but I'm sure we're good for a little bit.
So my original program was the New York Authentic Pilates of New York, and the
Mhm.
program that I joined was when Ramana and Sean Gallagher were partnered.
Okay.
Um, and in my program is when they broke up, let's say.
Okay.
So it
Yeah.
was like very I mean, I feel like there's so many tumultuous times in the Pilates industry, but that was
Right.
one of them. And we were these little, like little ducks trying to figure out what to do, like
What to
where
do?
to go.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I was in that program. So in 2002 is when I got my certificate. The two mentors for me that held that together, even though it was like a crazy time, was Michael and Tone
Hmm.
Boat and Michael Frisk. And they do all kinds of workshops and everything now too. And they were really wonderful mentors. But I worked for Sean Gallagher for quite a few years after that in his New York Pilates studio.
Okay.
I had like colleagues with I learned from Brett Howard, Brooke
Hmm.
Seiler during that time. Yeah.
Yeah. Very cool.
Yeah. So I did get to work with Ramana for about half of that program.
Yep.
which was at Drago's gym, which was a fun experience. And yeah, so that was my thing. And then sort of just tried to experience as much as possible after that.
Yeah, absolutely. Did you work with Kathy Grant as well?
I did not, and that's one of my biggest regrets,
Yeah,
because I didn't. I think I was like very naive to the importance.
hers. Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
And I remember actually one of my clients at New York Pilates studio saying, "Oh, you should go over and work with Kathy Grant at Tish." And I just was in my mode of like, okay, being working here, learning here, like, and
Yes.
I like regret that to this
Oh,
day. But I've got to work with Blossom,
mhm.
and definitely looking. I was actually looking virtually to some like Sarita and to try to learn from them. So
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That'll be interesting. I actually have Sarita Allen coming on next month.
awesome.
Yeah, so I'm excited about that too. But yeah, it's so funny. Like I think that that's like you're saying, you don't realize who is there, right? And it's not like you could follow her on Instagram like 20 years ago
Right.
and see what she's
No,
doing.
that it was like word of mouth, and yeah,
Word of mouth. Yeah, yeah. And
yeah.
that's
So our
very cool.
world's a lot smaller.
Just reading Michelle's comment here. It's like many of us during our training, we didn't know the Fletcher until years after later. Yeah.
Yeah, I think this is the coolest thing about, I mean, social media has its, pros and cons, but
Mhm.
it's very easy to now kind of connect the dots and seek out, more learning from whoever you want to resonate or have exposure to. So,
Right. Yeah, absolutely.
yeah.
All right, man. Yeah, no, I'd love to just have another conversation. So many things I want to dive deep on. I'm like, oh, I don't have time.
I
So,
know, I know next time, but can I just mention really quickly, give
sure.
to well, first of all, my team and my studio manager, Amy Bennett. When
Mhm.
we had talked previously, you and I, about the Pilates Strength and Recovery Program for cancer.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, so I want to give a shout out to those people too. Some of them might be on or might not be, but I'm sure they'll watch this after. So these people have incredible strength. These are people going through treatment for cancer at Summit Medical Group in New Jersey, and we had secured a grant with the help of the foundation to teach Pilates in person there. And when we really, it was a program that I developed like loosely based off clients that I've had that have had breast cancer. It started with breast cancer, but then expanded into other forms of cancer. And the biggest part of the program is like the empowerment part, like the being
Yes.
move and heal and feel empowered and like feel like they can do things. And it wouldn't we brought it virtual once the pandemic came, and it's grown in size and like just and I
Scope.
couldn't
Yeah.
run it. My studio manager Amy Bennett, who also volunteers her time to do it, to teach, so we do it virtually, and we have a good,
Wow.
so that's one of my really most proud things right now,
For
with,
sure.
yeah, so
Yeah. No, thanks for mentioning that. I did want to get to that because that's the accessibility, that's that applied for everybody, and that's the same. Like, well, what can you do? It's easy
yeah.
to get in your funk because of the things you can't do anymore,
Right, right. Yeah, I
and
mean,
that's what can do.
that have just had surgery, that have ports in, ostomy bags. Um,
Hmm.
it ranges from, it's very humbling to just see how much cancer is out there. I mean, unfortunately, like we teach, there's some lung cancer patients, breast cancer, non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. There's some other rare forms of like muscle, small cell cancer and things like that. And these people are just, they really put the pandemic in perspective for me right from the beginning, because to
Yes.
them it's not threatening. To them it's, we are dealing with, day by day already. And it really put kind of like a, okay, this is something, this will pass, we can get through this.
Yes. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure, Amy, they do inspire. I mean, it's so sobering. It is so grounding to have that perspective. So yeah, good for you. That's yeah.
So we're just doing what we're doing. We're trying to just keep, we're just doing it with vim and vigor, as they would say in the Pilates world. And
Yes.
so are you. And just connecting to everybody. And that's the point. That's the
Yeah,
point.
absolutely. Well, I'm so glad we got to have this chat, and this is one of many conversations we'll have in the future because you're doing such great work. So
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah,
You too. Congratulations. And I would love to connect and take a session or offer a session.
yeah,
I love that.
absolutely.
I
We'll
like
do
to,
that.
yeah, exactly.
Thank you to all of your studio, your team, and your family who are cheering you on here.
Thanks,
And
everyone.
thanks for your patience as we figured this out too. That was,
Yeah. I was texting you all to see how long you would wait for me, actually.
I know. You totally made, you brought it today, so you made it
Oh,
worth their while.
yeah, they'll not be surprised about that. Like I have one of my teachers does like most of the Instagram posts, and it's just as much as I learn, it's not in my wheelhouse as as much it is as it is her. So I'll say, wait, how do I do this? And thank God I have her. Her name's Chelsea. She might be teaching right now, so her mom's on the call though.
Yeah,
Uh, God for her because like literally tech challenged. You guys saw it for
funny. They must have been just all just shaking their head at you the whole
my
time.
my kids would be so embarrassed when they find out that happened. Yeah.
Do you want to shout them out by name, just for the sake?
Yeah. So hi Luca and my husband Victor. I know they'll watch this later. Um,
Yes.
thanks for being patient with mom with her tech inabilities and with her embarrassing, Pilates soapbox moments and whatnot. So
You're the best.
yeah.
All right. Thanks again, Tara.
All right. Thank you
Okay.
so much. Thanks for
Take
joining.
care.
I'll talk to you soon, Martin.
Yes. Bye now.